Chapter 36. Lung Rue pinched Tangua's chin and narrowed his eyes dangerously. This woman, Tangua, is not grass. She's medicine. She's poison. Aren't you afraid that I'll poison you to death? The woman placed her slender finger on the man's heart and gently pointed at it. There was a smile in the corner of her eyes. But I don't want to go back to the villa with you. Sigh, your previous actions made me very uncomfortable and angry. It has always been me who throws away things that I don't want, not others who throw them away. You want to be thrown into the sea to feed the sharks? The man's voice carried a dangerous tone, but the woman did not care. Tangua stood up and held Lung Rue's arm. Sugar daddy, let's go. Didn't you want to flatter me? As for the mistakes you made in the past, I'll return them to you when I have time. I'll let you experience the feeling of being thrown away. Tangua narrowed her eyes. Don't throw me away next time. I'm very vengeful. Didn't you put in so much effort tonight for this purpose? Lung Rue said. He clearly knew that this was a scheme of this woman, but he still fell for it. That was why he said that this woman was poison. Yes, I did it on purpose. Because I don't like being thrown away like trash. Being thrown away like a useless thing. This feeling is really disgusting. Sugar daddy, you've made an unforgivable mistake. You should think about how to make up for this mistake. System. This woman is crazy. Crazy. If you do something to my satisfaction, I can't consider going easy on you when I take revenge. Lung Rue just took Tangua's words as a joke. Although, this woman was more unbelievable than he imagined. Lung Rue, why did you come back? Tangua's voice suddenly became sweet. She walked out of the room, and the seductive aura on her body disappeared completely. Are you afraid that something will happen to me? Lung Rue, do you have me in your heart? The woman's fingers clasped Lung Rue's palm. The itchy feeling seemed to scratch his heart. Lung Rue glanced at the harmless woman with an angelic smile and said to his subordinate, clean it up. In the villa, a woman was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, watching a variety show while eating dessert. Surprisingly, Lung Rue was also sitting at the side. Ever since he came back that day, Lung Rue's gaze would fall on Tangua whenever he was free. He wanted to see through her, and even more, he wanted to use a sharp knife to cut open her head and see what was inside. However, he wouldn't do that for the time being. Lung Rue, I want to participate in this show. Tangua puffed up her cheeks and stared at a certain figure on the TV screen. She narrowed her eyes and said, I want to be a guest. The kind that gives them comments and scores. Lung Rue's eyes moved from Tangua to the TV screen. Suddenly, he saw the name Lu Qi. Who was Lu Qi? Why was the woman beside him interested in Lu Qi? Lung Ziyue, Dad, you forgot again that Lu Qi is your son's girlfriend. Host, we've already agreed that you're not allowed to harm the female lead. Calm down, calm down. Think clearly before doing this. Did I say that I'm going to harm the female lead? The system said weakly. Then why do you want to participate in this show? If you don't go, Lu Qi will definitely use this show to make a comeback and become popular. You mean if I go, she won't become popular? Chapter 37. Lung Rue, do you have any special needs at the moment? Lung Rue pushed the woman out of the car expressionlessly and gave Yu a look. Yu quickly pulled Tangua back. When Yu found out that Tangua had moved back to the villa, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She could not believe it. She had even asked Tangua how she had done it, but all she got was a smile from Tangua. Yu felt that Tangua was unfathomable. If someone like Lung Rue could handle her, she really admired Tangua. Tangua held the car door. Although Lung Rue's face could not be seen from the car window, she still said with a smile, if you have any needs, you have to tell me soon. If I am not interested, it will be impossible for you to do anything. Drive. After Lung Rue said that, the car was driven away. Tangua had indeed left a deep impression on him. At the same time, she was also a dangerous woman to him. As for the purpose of keeping her by his side, he just wanted to see what she was up to. It was best to keep dangerous things by his side. But Lung Rue did not think that one could be poisoned if they came into contact with too much poison, especially this kind of poison that had no antidote. It was the scariest. Lu Qi was dumbfounded when Tangua appeared out of nowhere and became a guest on the show, Son of Music. The live audience was in an uproar. All this time, they had only heard Tangua's songs and had rarely seen her in person. After Moving Voice, Tangua hadn't appeared on another show. The most interaction she had was with the singing app and Weibo. Tangua's arrival made the atmosphere unprecedentedly high. Some of the contestants were extremely excited and expressed their love for Tangua. Even some of the seniors were full of praise for Tangua. It was not that they were not jealous, but they did not dare to be. Tangua's comments were very pertinent, and she even gave some useful suggestions to the contestants. Because of Tangua's arrival, Lu Qi performed abnormally, and the judges kept shaking their heads. Although Lu Qi also had some background, there was no way to give her a high score for her performance. Moreover, the grading of the program, Son of Music, was absolutely fair. No matter how strong one's background was, one had to abide by the rules. This was also why this show was so popular. Anyone who appeared on this show and became popular would definitely become even more popular. Host, can't you stop causing trouble? The system was very sad now. The female lead was becoming more and more unconventional. At this time, the female lead should be a singer that everyone loved. In the end, as soon as his host appeared, the halo of the female lead disappeared in minutes. Host, you are clearly a supporting female character. Why do you want to cover up the halo of the female lead? Idiot, you're being a little unreasonable. Tangua was unhappy. What did I do when I came here? System, no. Have I ever targeted her? System, no. Then what does it have to do with me if she doesn't perform well? The system said weakly. But host, your appearance seems to have scared her. That's why the female lead did not perform well. The more it said, the more the system felt pressure from Tangua. It did not dare to continue. She is indeed stupid. She was scared because she is timid. As the female lead, how could she be so scared by a supporting female character that she did not dare to perform well? Haha, do you have some misunderstanding about the female lead? The system squatted on the ground and counted ants. I can't win against you in an argument. Alright, idiot. Since she is the female lead, she should be braver and stronger. She will definitely shine in the future. What are you worried about? Do you think the female lead will be ruined by a supporting female character? Chapter 38. Ziyue. Why is she here? Lung Ziyue was also shocked. Before today, he had never heard that Tangua would be joining the show. As for why Tangua was able to join the show, he could not understand. Lu Qi could not take it anymore. Because of Tangua's appearance, she did not perform well. So, she immediately went to look for the director of the show. Director Chen Yuesheng was the director of Son of Music. He was also the one who made the show successful. He had a high status in the industry, and many people did not dare to offend him. Why is Tangua on this show? I have never heard of a guest appearing out of nowhere. After debuting for so long, Lu Qi had always had people supporting her. She did not suffer much, and because Tangua always suppressed her, Lu Qi gradually lost her mind. So much so that she forgot that Chen Yuesheng was not someone she could casually question. Originally, Chen Yuesheng was quite satisfied with Lu Qi. She was a genius in the music class and had even studied abroad. She was popular with the audience, had good singing skills, and a unique voice. If nothing went wrong, she would be the best contestant of this season of Son of Music. After this show, she would definitely be famous. However, Lu Qi's performance today disappointed him. People could not be compared. Between Lu Qi and Tangua, he obviously preferred Tangua. They debuted at the same time and in the same place. In just a few months, the public's evaluation of the two was very different. It was not that the audience did not like Lu Qi. They liked Lu Qi not because of her songs, but because of her persona. Chen Yuesheng was a true musician. Of course, he preferred people like Tangua who focused on music. So, when he received a call from Long Rue to recommend someone to be a guest appearing out of nowhere, he agreed without hesitation when he found out that it was Tangua. Tangua. He had long wanted to invite this newcomer, especially one who was so focused on music. Unfortunately, she did not seem to be interested in participating in the show. He did not expect Long Rue to recommend Tangua to him. Do you have any objections? Lu Qi's questioning made Chen Yuesheng feel uncomfortable. He was the director of the show and was fully in charge of it. He did not need any other investors because he wanted to have full control of it and make a show that was fairer in the music industry. Lu Qi opened her mouth but couldn't find a reason. I'm just surprised. I didn't hear any news before. Lu Qi suddenly came to her senses and pursed her lips. She couldn't say that Tangwa's appearance caused her to perform abnormally, could she? Since it's a mysterious guest that appeared out of nowhere, of course, no information will be leaked before they appear. Chen Yuesheng said faintly, Lu Qi, your performance today is a bit abnormal. It's not your usual level. I hope you can adjust in the following time. I understand. Even though she was upset, Lu Qi did not dare to ask more. Chen Yuesheng was not interested in talking to Lu Qi at all. He walked away with slightly hurried steps. Lu Qi thought about it and felt that her attitude just now was not very good. After a while, she followed Chen Yuesheng and prepared to apologize. She didn't expect to see a scene that made her angry. Chapter 39. Chen Yuesheng felt that Tangwa's songs were very special and very artistic. He had been in the music industry for so many years, but he had never seen anyone who could instantly immerse themselves in the world of music. If there could be a segment in the middle of the show where the guests sang, this episode would definitely be very interesting. Since I'm here, I'll let Director Chen arrange everything. As long as it's a singing segment, Director Chen can arrange it. I have no objections. As soon as she said this, Chen Yuesheng immediately beamed with joy. Look, this was a real musician. His words were all about the music, not just sitting at the side and making comments. All right, since little Tang has said so, I won't stand on ceremony. Chen Yuesheng smiled. Previously, I was wondering if I could invite little Tang to participate in this show. But after thinking about it, I feel that it would be a little hard on her. Yes, just based on those few songs that everyone was familiar with, Tangwa had already made her famous. The reason why she did not become even more famous was because she did not participate in any shows or endorse any brands. Unintentionally, she had also offended many people. If this person was not Tangwa, she would have disappeared a long time ago. Chen Yuesheng then asked, Little Tang doesn't seem to like participating in some shows? I don't really want to participate in shows that are not about music. Tangwa smiled. I'm not interested. It's too much of a waste of time. Chen Yuesheng did not think that this sentence was unpleasant, although it was full of arrogance and disdain. On the contrary, he felt that it was very pleasant to hear. Wasn't this an indirect admission that she had participated in Son of Music because it was a music show? There aren't many people like Little Tang who are focused on music nowadays. Chen Yuesheng sighed. It's a pity that there aren't many shows that really focus on music. Although he was happy, Chen Yuesheng did not want to let such a promising junior become ordinary. Little Tang, if you have any difficulties in the future, you can look for me. If it's about music, I can still say a few words. The corners of Tang's mouth curled up. Sure, thank you, Director Chen. To be honest, I really have something to do. Some time ago, I wrote a lot of songs and was preparing to release an album, but I don't have any professionals around me. Tangwa was not polite at all. Instead, she was taking advantage of her. The system secretly despised her, but it did not dare to say anything. Director Chen specializes in music, so I want to ask Director Chen for help. When Chen Yuesheng heard this, his first reaction was that he had written another song. What genre was it this time? Could it compare to the previous one? His eyes lit up, and he almost asked Tangwa to sing it for him. When I came today, I also brought these songs. Tangwa obviously came prepared. She took out a music player from her bag and handed it to Chen Yuesheng. Since you're a senior, you should listen and see if there's anything you're lacking. Chen Yuesheng took the player and couldn't wait to listen. This was exactly what he wanted. If Tangwa had not been signed by Nebula Music, he would have signed her and even taken her as a student. However, after listening to the songs on the player, he felt that his thoughts were a little ridiculous. Tangwa was a complete genius. Just based on the 10 songs on the player, he was not qualified to take her as a student. Chapter 40. Lu Qi didn't know how she left Chen Yuesheng's office. Her mind was filled with the thought that Tangwa was going to release an album. Why? Lu Qi clenched her fists tightly and pursed her lips. Tangwa didn't have a good family background. Apart from being a graduate of a music academy, she wasn't as good-looking as her, and her starting point wasn't as good as hers. Why was she getting further and further ahead of her? Jealousy had already filled her heart. She could still hide it before, but now she couldn't control it at all. If this continued, people would only compare her with Tanghua more and more. If she couldn't surpass Tanghua, she would always live in Tanghua's shadow and never have a chance to make a comeback. Lucci finally couldn't take it anymore. She took out her phone, opened a gossip group, and sent a message with her alternate account. Someone is using a music senior to climb up the ranks. As soon as the message came out, the group exploded and everyone asked for the details. Lucci smiled when she saw how excited the group members were. There were quite a lot of people in this circle. While she was at it, she also posted a photo that she secretly took before. It seems that Tanghua and Chen Yuesheng are very intimate. After sending it, she deleted the alternate account and even left the group. Lung Rui, Lil Tang is really a genius. A genius in the music industry. Lung Rui listened to Chen Yuesheng's praises for Tanghua on the phone. Unconsciously, the corners of his mouth also curled up. You've recommended a treasure to me. Let's have a meal together someday. I have to thank you properly. Long Rui glanced at the woman who was focused on the TV and agreed casually. After hanging up the phone, his eyes were fixed on Tanghua. Are you suddenly interested in me? Tanghua moved to Long Rui's side and hugged his arm naturally. The woman's soft hum was undoubtedly very seductive. Long Rui pinched Tanghua's chin and narrowed his eyes dangerously. How do you know that I'm close to Chen Yuesheng? This woman approached him step by step and made him interested in her. She seemed to know his weakness. When he heard that Chen Yuesheng wanted to help this woman release an album, he knew that everything was part of her plan. It was as if every step she took was carefully planned by her. Not many people knew about his relationship with Chen Yuesheng. How did she know? What else do you have that I don't know? Long Rui really wanted to dig out all her secrets. Although she had schemed against him time and time again, he wasn't angry at all. He hadn't had such an opponent for a long time. She schemed against him again and again, and time again. But when he found out all her secrets, he would throw her into the sea. To you, you're thinking that one day to throw me into the sea. The system couldn't help but speak up. Although your actions really do resemble that of an evil female supporting lead, any action of an evil female supporting lead would never succeed. However, why do you succeed every single time? Chapter 41. This is bad. Host, can you calm down a little? Chen Yuesheng should be the one standing behind the female lead and helping her. The system said pitifully, he was originally the one who secretly liked the female lead. He's the supporting male lead, the supporting male lead. Host, you're really too bad. You said you wouldn't attack the female lead, but you didn't keep your word. Host, calm down and think about other meaningful things in this world. Don't keep thinking about messing with the female lead and ruin this world, okay? I feel that if this continues, the female lead's halo will disappear. The system said worriedly. Tanghua yawned. She lost her halo. What does that have to do with me? How is it none of your business? If it wasn't for you, would she have lost her halo? Host, just tell me the truth. What exactly do you want to do, okay? Everything can be discussed. You don't have to torture the male and female leads, and you don't have to ruin the world. What do you think? Tanghua paused, then said, You really want to know? Host, just say it. Say it, and we'll solve the problem together. There's nothing we can't get through. After all, we've lived in so many worlds together. Okay, tell me, why do I have to complete all kinds of female supporting missions here? Every world has to be so miserable. Tanghua narrowed her eyes. Who was I? What's your goal? The system instantly shivered. If it wasn't a system but a human, it would have been shivering by now. Host, let's change the question. The system said weakly. Tanghua suddenly smiled. Okay, let's change the question. The system heaved a sigh of relief. How can I end the cycle in each world? The system's relieved heart suddenly rose. Host, I suggest, change. A less difficult question. Tanghua's lips curled into a malicious smile. Okay, this is the easiest question. How can I ruin a world faster? The system trembled. Host, Today is not a good day to ask questions, nor is it a good day to answer questions. I suggest that you keep your questions for now. The system didn't dare to speak anymore. It secretly paid attention to a certain woman who was eating potato chips. He was extremely conflicted. If this continued, he might not be able to hold on. One day, the host would feel that there was no point in destroying the world and torturing the male and female protagonists. She would probably make a move on him. I'm just asking. You don't have to be nervous. If I don't express my dissatisfaction, I'll feel uncomfortable. Hearing Tangua's voice, the system didn't dare to speak. It was better for it to be transparent. Other people's systems were like this. If the host was disobedient, they could punish him. Why was he so unlucky? When his host was disobedient, he could only say a few threatening words. He couldn't do anything to her. On top of that, he had to constantly be threatened and intimidated by the host. It was so fucking frustrating. After that, Tangua devoted herself to the recording of the album. Lu Qi, on the other hand, was participating in various programs, trying to expose herself to the public. As long as Tangua did not appear with her, she was actually quite popular. 2 months later, Tangua announced that she was going to release an album. At the same time, Chen Yuesheng also cooperated with the publicity. Although Tangua had faded from everyone's sight, everyone remembered her voice. Chapter 42. As soon as the Weibo post, famous singer uses famous musician to rise to the top appeared, it was forwarded by countless people. In the post, there were tags such as Pure Angel, singer with the most beautiful voice, newcomer who focuses on music, and famous musician, etc. It did not mention Tangua and Chen Yuesheng. Mysterious guest who appeared out of nowhere, released an album after debuting for less than a year. These 2 key points caught people's attention. Through these tags, everyone knew who this Weibo post belonged to even without naming them. Finally, there was an intimate photo. Only the side of their faces were shown, but the photo looked very intimate. It was hard not to believe. Previously, when people said that Tangua had a sugar daddy, it was just empty talk. There was no evidence. Now that the evidence was out, a newcomer who had only debuted for a few months had become a guest. Lu Qi, who had debuted at the same time, was only a contestant on Son of Music, released an album after debuting for less than a year? Who could do it? If there was no support, it would be impossible. Chen Yuesheng did not know Tangua before, so why would he help her for no reason? This incomparably intimate photo could represent everything. Chen Yuesheng was in his 30s and was still unmarried. He had never been close to any female singer before, so why would he suddenly be close to a newcomer? If they were in a normal relationship, according to his character, he would have announced it long ago. It had been a few months, but he still had not announced it. This could only mean that they were in a shady business relationship. In a short time, posts saying that Tangua became a guest on Son of Music because she found a sugar daddy and got Chen Yuesheng to help her release an album were everywhere. How much they liked Tangua in the past was how much they hated Tangua now. A few months ago, Tangua was not popular. Even if there was negative news about her, there were only a few people who scolded her. Now, it was different. Tangua's songs were known by everyone, and this caused the matter to escalate quickly. Other than Tangua's die-hard fans, all of them turned against her. They all scolded Tangua for being shameless and for being a fan of the wrong person. Even if the die-hard fans said that this was just a facade, they would be drowned by countless scoldings if they wanted to believe in their idol. We will never buy a record from such an unclean person. Even if her songs are nice, she's dirty. Her existence is an insult to our idol. My idol must have been bewitched by her, or maybe even threatened by her. That's right. Shang has never had any intimate contact with any female singer before. He has always been clean and honest. Why did Tangua drag him down as soon as she appeared? I think it's this woman who used some means to threaten Shang. As soon as these posts appeared, Chen Yuesheng's fans also went to Tangua's Weibo to flame her. Tangua scrolled through Weibo expressionlessly. The system secretly observed her expression. Host, you're a supporting female character. It's not strange for you to have such an encounter. After all, a supporting female character's fate is bound to be a little frustrated. You should look on the bright side. She's a female supporting character, and a top female supporting character at that. She'll always be a little more unlucky than others. Actually, this is pretty good. The system still wanted to say something, but it felt an inexplicable chill, so it quickly hid. Chapter 43. I didn't expect such a mistake to happen. Chun Yuesheng sounded angry. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. He and Tanghua had always been innocent. It wasn't like what people said. Some people really had nothing better to do. They just wanted to find out about other people's scandals. In fact, in this industry, Qin Yuesheng knew that there was something fishy going on. Most likely, someone didn't like Tanghua's popularity and did something. He didn't care about scandals at all. The only bad thing was that Tanghua's album might not sell well because of this. However, he already thought of a good idea. We'll pretend that we're dating. When the album is released, after half a year, the fans will have forgotten about our relationship. Then, we'll post on Weibo and break up. This was Chen Yuesheng's current idea. In the current situation, no matter how he explained, the audience wouldn't believe him. If he admitted that they were dating, the others wouldn't have anything to say. The system secretly heard it and felt like it was struck by lightning. Host, I don't think this is a good idea. This was the first male supporting character. If he was labeled as the host, how could he help the female lead in the future? No, definitely not. Even if it was fake, it wouldn't work. Then, I'll have to trouble Brother Chun to take care of it. Tanghua smiled until her eyes were curved. The system felt that this smile wasn't kind at all. If Brother Chin knows who did it, you must tell me. Host, don't do anything stupid. For example, do something stupid that would make the world collapse quickly. After getting Tanghua's approval, Chun Yuesheng immediately went on Weibo. I originally planned to tell everyone about this after a while. I didn't expect some nosy people to use it. For Guo and my innocence, I have to tell everyone about this happy news in advance. 3 months ago, Guo and I had officially started dating. Previously, we had discussed and planned to announce it on the day of the release of the album. However, some people were too anxious and ruined the surprise that we had prepared for everyone. It was really a pity. I hope that the fans won't say anything bad or slander Guo. She's the purest girl I've ever met. It was her talent and singing that attracted me. As for why I asked Guo to be a guest, I believe that her ability is obvious to all. With her talent, it wouldn't be strange for her to release an album earlier. Besides, we are boyfriend and girlfriend. Is it strange for us to work together? Or do you think that I shouldn't help my girlfriend? For those who were still doubtful, they might as well wait until the album was released and listen to it on major music players before deciding whether to buy it or not. I hope to receive the blessings of all my fans and passers-by. Thank you. Chen Yuesheng's Weibo was like a deep water bomb that blew up people's minds. The people who were still scolding Tanghua were stunned, and so were the fans who were attacking Tanghua. Chen Yuesheng's fans thought about it. Could their idol be threatened by an ordinary woman? If he didn't like this woman, would he be intimate with her? Thinking about it again, ever since Tanghua debuted, she had not participated in any reality shows, nor did she take on any advertisements. If it were a normal newcomer, with her fame, they would have all kinds of endorsements by now. As for Tanghua, she had always been focused on her music. Wasn't her personality the same as their idols? Chapter 44. Shangsheng, I wish you all the best. Shangsheng, 99. Shangsheng, sorry, we were too impulsive. Although Shangsheng was snatched away, you've been single for so many years. It's not easy to find someone you like. I still wish you all the best. The person you choose must be someone you like. You like him, so I like him too. Chun Yuesheng browsed through the comments on Weibo and slightly breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the blessings below, he couldn't help but think of the experience of working with Tanghua in the past few months. He smiled knowingly. He didn't lie. Tanghua was a very pure woman. Looking at the blessings of the fans, he actually had a very subtle feeling in his heart. Shangsheng, you've delayed the shoot for a few months. Can you post some intimate photos? This Weibo was instantly liked by many people. Chun Yuesheng narrowed his eyes. It seemed that a Weibo alone couldn't dispel everyone's doubts. Intimate photos can't be posted. It's private. There was a sound of disappointment below. Chun Yuesheng said again, in the future, you can share the photos of our dates. Chun Yuesheng touched his forehead. He had to complete the act. Okay. Tangwa held the phone. When? Tonight. Where do you like? Brother Chin, you can arrange it. Tangwa hung up the phone and began to change her clothes. Sue. Host. You agreed? Host. I think you can refuse. You're the supporting female, he's the supporting male. Supporting female and supporting male. A match made in heaven. There's nothing wrong with that. Host. Think about Long Rue. Haven't you always been interested in him? I think he's not bad. The system felt bitter. Chen Yuexing was a very important supporting male. It could be said that in the future, Lu Qi would become famous all over the world because of Chen Yuexing. It didn't understand how Chen Yuexing got on the pirate ship of the host. The problem definitely didn't lie with Chen Yuexing. It must be the problem with the host. At night, Long Rue returned to the villa as usual. He thought that when he entered the door, he would hear the woman's voice or see her curled up on the sofa, watching TV and eating snacks. However, there was no one on the sofa. He was a little surprised. He thought that Tangwa had gone back to her room. When he opened the door, there was still no one. He frowned. Where is she? Sir, Miss Tang has a date tonight. Date? Long Rue's frown deepened. That woman had never accepted dates from other people. What date? Miss Tang didn't say. Long Rue was a little annoyed. He dialed Tangwa's number. Where did you go? On a date. Tangwa smiled and glanced at Chen Yuexing, who was sitting opposite her. Chen Yuexing also smiled. To be honest, he had never dated a girl before. Actually, it felt pretty good. For a moment, he even thought that what if his relationship with Tangwa was real? He did not dislike this feeling. Come back soon. Try your best. Tangwa hung up the phone. Long Rue gripped his phone tightly. This woman was so perfunctory to him tonight. Who called? Chen Yuexing asked curiously. Tangwa answered honestly. Long Rue. He asked me to go back early. You guys. Chen Yuexing never thought that it would be Long Rue. He didn't know why, but he actually felt a little disappointed. Tangwa smiled. He's my sugar daddy. Chen Yuexing almost couldn't hold his knife and fork. Sugar daddy? Chapter 45. Under the candlelight, the woman's smile was so calm. He didn't hate people in the industry who had sugar daddies, but he didn't expect Tangwa to be one of them. No. Chen Yuexing suddenly remembered that Tangwa's background was very ordinary. She was an orphan girl who worked part-time to attend a music school. If no one had helped her behind the scenes, she might not have been able to get to where she was today. After knowing that Long Rue was her sugar daddy, he didn't hate him. Instead, he pitied him. Oh, Tangwa smiled. I'm a little surprised. I thought Brother Chin wouldn't like such a person. No. Chen Yuexing was a little nervous. He looked at the woman in front of him carefully. She had a beautiful face and elegant behavior. She was very attractive. It was the first time he had seen a woman who could admit everything so calmly. Guer, if you don't want to stay by Long Rue's side, you can come to me. Chen Yuexing felt that the knife and fork tonight were especially slippery. Maybe it was because he had used it too many times. He had to suggest to the boss that he should change the cutlery. Tangwa looked up slightly and smiled sweetly. Why, Brother Chin? Do you want to be my sugar daddy too? No. Chen Yuexing stuttered. Then why? The woman put down the knife and fork and supported her chin with one hand. Her focused gaze fell on Chen Yuexing's face, making him extremely nervous. Chen Yuexing had to look away. He didn't know why. I just want to help you. Thank you, Brother Chin. Aren't you going to take photos? Chen Yuexing was even more nervous. Thinking that he still had to explain to the fans, he got up and sat beside Tangwa. Shakily, it took him 10 minutes to take a few photos that he was satisfied with. He let out a long breath. Seriously, he was even more nervous than when he first went on stage. I'll send you back. Tangwa didn't refuse. Hearing Tangwa's address, Chen Yuexing's mind cleared up. It was indeed where Long Rue lived. It was close to midnight. Long Rue was very annoyed that the woman hadn't returned yet. Just as he was thinking, he heard the sound of a car parking downstairs. He stood up and walked to the window. He saw Chen Yuexing help the woman out of the car like a gentleman. Long Rue's eyes suddenly turned cold. His gaze shifted from Chen Yuexing to the woman. The woman seemed to have sensed something. She raised her head and smiled at him. When Tangwa stepped into the villa, she felt as if she was being stared at by a poisonous snake. She raised her eyes slightly and looked at Long Rue with a smile on her face. "Financier, you don't seem to be in a good mood today." A dangerous smile flashed across Long Rue's lips. He walked in front of the woman, looked at her, and lowered his head. "You've taken a fancy to Chenyueshing again? You have a good eye." "Jealous?" Tangwa hugged Long Rue's arm. Have you realized that you have me in your heart now?" Long Rue pried Tangwa's hand away, looking ruthless and cold. "Even if your song is very attractive to me, I don't need an unclean and unfaithful woman by my side during this period." Long Rue lit a cigarette. "Come out and help Miss Tang pack her things. Help her move to her residence. Seeing that Chun Yueshing is interested in you, I'll spare your life today." When he said this, Long Rue's face was full of cruelty. This was not a man who had tender feelings for women. His heart was filled with darkness and killing intent. Chapter 46. Long Rue sat on the sofa calmly, smoking a cigarette. The villa was filled with smoke. "Should I send you to your place, or to Chen Yueshing's place?" The woman was very calm. "You'll have to throw me away a second time. I'll remember that." Tangwa sat beside Long Rue leisurely, smiling gently. "I'll get my revenge. I told you before that I don't like the feeling of being thrown away." The system didn't dare to make a sound now. He felt danger from the host. Yes, very dangerous. He silently tried to recall why his host was so upset about being thrown away by someone else. Suddenly, he remembered. He remembered when Tangwa started to do missions in these worlds, the experiences of the previous worlds. At that time, the host was so innocent and cute. Not only would she complete the missions perfectly, but she would also be filled with emotions for each world. In the previous worlds, the host was a female supporting character. She failed to frame the male and female leads, and her ending was very tragic. Of course, she didn't get a boxed meal because of this. Instead, she was saved. After suffering so much, it was inevitable that she would be grateful to the person who saved her. This was a mission, and the host was very clear about her ending. But in the face of the person who treated her well, she couldn't help but be grateful and trust him wholeheartedly. However, she was a female supporting character. Her fate was destined to not have a good ending. The people who saved her all abandoned her, and betrayed her because of the female lead. Normal people could bear it if it happened once or twice, but after being abandoned countless times, no one could bear it, right? The system suddenly understood why the well-behaved host suddenly broke down. Her entire persona collapsed, and it was the kind that couldn't be saved. In the previous worlds, the host had changed. She became heartless and cold. She was no longer the kind host from before. As a system, he also felt the pain and despair in the heart of the host. But he couldn't help her. Other than telling the host the story of these worlds, he also urged her to complete the missions. The questions that the host asked him before, he felt that he might know, but he didn't know. Every time he thought about these questions, he found that he couldn't find the answer. The system was shocked to find that in this world, he could still clearly feel Tangwa's thoughts. In this world, he didn't know what she was thinking at all. The reason why he warned her every time was because he felt that something was wrong and made his own guesses. After all, they had existed in so many worlds together. "Host, although you've been chased out again, don't be sad. You're so powerful. Don't become extreme because of this." Right now, the system didn't want to talk anymore. It didn't want to prank the female lead anymore. He had a premonition that instead of persuading Tangwa not to mess with the female lead, it would be better to persuade her to adjust her mood so that she wouldn't ruin every world in the future. "I'm not sad." Tangwa was puzzled. "Idiot. Why are you so concerned about me? Yes, after all, we've depended on each other for so many years. If I don't care about you, who will?" "Forget it. I don't believe you. You only have the mission in your eyes. You're probably afraid that I'll destroy this world, so you're just trying to frame me." System. The host is getting smarter and smarter. Chapter 47. Why are you being chased out again? Yu sighed. "Forget it. I'm used to it. It's better that you don't go to Mr. Long's villa at this time." There had been such a big commotion before. Now that Tanghua and Chen Yuesheng were officially dating, it would be difficult to explain if they were photographed entering and leaving another man's villa. Thinking about it this way, it was not a bad thing. Director Chun is a good person. He came up with such a good idea for you. After this is over, you have to thank Director Chun properly. Tanghua replied, okay. By the way, Director Chun said that you need to act recently, and there will be a lot of dates. I've already planned the time and place for the dates for you. Okay. Yu glanced at Tanghua carefully. Seeing that she did not look sad, she said, although Mr. Long has a lot of power, he's also a hot-tempered person. You might not like him one day, so it's good to move out now. In other words, once Tanghua's album was released, Lung Rue would not be needed for the rest of the journey. Of course, the most important thing was that Yu realized that Chen Yuesheng admired Tanghua's talent very much. He would definitely not let her be forgotten. Sister Yu, find time to give this to Lung Rue. Tanghua took out a music player with a smile on her face. Without me, he won't be able to sleep well at night. Give this to him, and he'll definitely sleep well in the future. Yu was stunned. Xiaogua, you can't. Did she fall in love with Mr. Long? That person was heartless. It was fine if he was a sugar daddy, but if he really had feelings for him, he would be doomed. Sister Yu, just do as I say. Okay, I'll send it over when I'm free. Remember, you must give it to him personally. Tanghua narrowed her eyes. Just say that I must give it to him. Host, are you really interested in Lung Rue? The system asked uncertainly. Tanghua smiled softly. What do you know with your low IQ? He treats me like dirt, and I treat him like a treasure. What do you think? System, it's over. The host is crazy. Finally, another day is over. Chen Yuesheng actually missed the time he spent with Tanghua. I'll send you back today. The album has been released. It should be over in less than half a year. Actually, he didn't want it to end. He didn't send Tanghua back because he felt that it was wrong for him to do that since Tanghua was Lung Rue's woman. Now that their relationship had lasted for one more day, it would soon be over. Chen Yuesheng had to admit that he had other thoughts about this woman. Unfortunately, he appeared too late. Chen Yuesheng drove in the direction of Lung Rue's villa. After driving for a while, Tanghua reminded him. Not in this direction. Chen Yuesheng was surprised. Lung Rue changed directions? It's not him who changed places. It's me who changed places. Chen Yuesheng stopped the car abruptly and looked at Tanghua. Is your relationship over? Sort of. Tanghua lowered her head, looking a little depressed. Chen Yuesheng held the steering wheel tightly. Guer, do you like him? Otherwise, you wouldn't be sad. No. Tanghua looked up with a smile and told him her address. Actually, it's good that you're over. He's not suitable for you. Chen Yuesheng suddenly felt a little despicable. He won't be good to any woman. In his eyes, women are all dangerous. He won't give his heart. Chapter 48. Tanghua was on fire. All the top songs on all the major music players were Tanghua's songs. Those who had been doubting Tanghua's abilities immediately ordered Tanghua's album after listening to it. It was only when they ordered that they realized that Tanghua's album was actually a limited edition. This meant that if they didn't buy it now, they might not be able to buy it in the future. Although her songs could be heard on all the major music players, having a limited edition album in their hands had a different meaning. Especially Tanghua's fans. Many of them bought it from the start, but when the rest of them wanted to buy it, they realized that they couldn't buy it anymore. As a result, Tanghua's album was hard to get even with money. Fans kept asking on Tanghua's and Chen Yuesheng's Weibo if they could sell more albums, but the answer was no. Lucci only found out that Tanghua was really popular all over the country when she came back from a field reality show. This time, there was no one who did not know about it. Before this, she was still feeling smug about being able to sing all the songs in the reality show. But when she heard everyone humming Tanghua's songs in the streets and alleys, she realized how ridiculous she was. She thought that the news she had exposed the last time would be enough to ruin Tanghua's reputation. She didn't expect that Chen Yuesheng would go to such lengths for Tanghua. Host, I finally understand. The system had been silent for a long time before it spoke again. This time, it said this to Tanghua. At this moment, Tanghua was writing a new song. When she suddenly heard the system's voice, she put down her pen and said, "Stupid thing. What do you understand? You're taking revenge, right? Host, you're taking revenge." The system was very certain. "You're taking revenge on the male and female leads, on Chen Yuesheng, and on Long Rue. Am I right?" Host, I thought that after experiencing so many worlds, you've already lost all feelings. No, I guess I guessed wrong. You still have some feelings left in your heart. Tangwa smiled. Tell me about it. Fine, I'll say it. The system seemed to be in a fit of pique. Because you've been through one female supporting character's world after another, you've suffered all sorts of betrayals, lies, and torture. You've even once given your true heart, causing your body and mind to collapse and your personality to completely collapse. However, my host, you are not an ordinary person. Even if your personality has collapsed, you do not intend to give up and continue to travel through the world. Your choice is to live on and carry out all kinds of revenge. I should have seen that from the previous worlds that collapsed. During this period of time, I've thought about it seriously, and I've even sorted out the plot of this world. I finally understand what you've been planning to do from the start. Tangwa held the pen between her fingers, the corners of her mouth curved into a smile. She lazily leaned on the sofa and quietly listened to the system's voice. You took revenge on Long Ziyue because he betrayed you. You took revenge on Lu Qi because she harmed you. You took revenge on Chen Yuesheng because Chen Yuesheng helped Lu Qi to harm you. As a senior in the music industry, Chen Yuesheng banned you because of Lu Qi, causing you to have nowhere to go. You took revenge on Long Rue because of what? The system took a deep breath, if it really had a respiratory system. Chapter 49. If Tangwa hadn't been thrown out and stayed by Long Rue's side, she wouldn't have been treated as a plaything. She wouldn't have been photographed by the female lead's people and committed suicide by jumping off a building in despair. The system side. Host, the female lead's fate is destined. You can't carry out such a meticulously planned revenge because of this. Besides, after you came, the original Tangwa's fate has been changed. So, please calm down and don't continue. Tangwa smiled faintly. What do you mean by destined? I don't believe in destined. I only believe that fate is in my hands. Host, let's not talk about other people. Let's talk about Chen Yuesheng and Long Rue. Chen Yuesheng helped you so much. How could you do it? And Long Rue, his personality has always been like that. There's nothing wrong with throwing Tangwa out, right? Tangwa rubbed her forehead. I didn't do anything to Chen Yuesheng. You're unreasonable. You didn't do anything? Chen Yuesheng almost fell in love with you. Tangwa sneered. That has nothing to do with me. If he doesn't fall in love with me, he has to love Lu Qi. In the end, he can't love her. I didn't change his fate. System. Motherfucker, can I scold the host for being heartless and unreasonable? Host, isn't it good to put down the butcher's knife? Tangwa shook her head seriously. No. From the moment I walked into this world, I was destined to have this day. So, it's not my fault. If you have the ability, why don't you kill me? Stupid thing, do you know? When I came to this world, I felt the original Tangwa's final thoughts in her heart. The system's ears perked up. There weren't many chances for its host to tell its secrets. It had to understand its host more. Maybe it could stop what was going to happen next. The person she hates the most is not Long Ziyue, Lu Qi, or Chen Yuesheng. It's Long Rue, a person who gave her hope and made her despair. She lived peacefully in Long Rue's villa for 3 months. She had already thought about it. If she were to leave this place one day, she would definitely live a good life. However, the heavens did not give her the chance. Long Ziyue's one sentence was enough to throw her out. When a person gives away all their hope and trust, only to have it mercilessly crushed, that is her despair. The system fell silent. He understood why the host was still brooding over this. It was because the host had already substituted herself into this world's Tangwa. At this moment, she was the reborn Tangwa. Then, as your host, can you be a little gentler? Forget about the others, but this Long Rue, don't be so ruthless. Just teach him a lesson, okay? Sure. Tangwa smiled brightly. If Long Rue treats me well, I won't take revenge on him. The system was overjoyed, but before it could say anything, Tanghua continued, but he has already thrown me away twice. You know, I hate being thrown away by others, and so does the original owner of this body. The system's heart gradually sank. A chill rose from the bottom of its feet all the way to the top of its head. The premise was that if he had a body, it would definitely feel like this. Guo, it's time to eat. The system still wanted to say something, but Chen Yuesheng walked in with a thermos. Looking at Chen Yuesheng's doting face, the system had a bad feeling in its heart. Chapter 50. I've been so busy that I forgot to send it to you, Mr. Long. Yu forced a smile. Actually, she was a little unhappy with Long Rue, so she didn't send it to him on purpose. Long Rue held the music player in his hand and frowned. He hadn't been able to sleep well while Tanghua was away. He had also asked other women to sing for him, but he couldn't take it anymore after the first line and chased them out. In the end, he had no choice but to get them to download Tanghua's songs from the internet so that he could fall asleep. What's this? This is the song Xiaoguo recorded for you, Mr. Long. When she gave it to me, she said that Mr. Long might not be able to sleep well at night if she wasn't around, so she asked me to give it to you. Yu smiled awkwardly. I was so busy that I forgot about it. Long Rue threw the music player aside. Yu was secretly unhappy, but she didn't dare say anything. Xiaoguo was so good. Even if she was chased away, she still wanted to record a song for this cold and heartless person. Look at how he didn't care. She was really infatuated. If she had known, she wouldn't have sent it today. What has she been doing recently? After a long while, Long Rue finally asked. She's busy writing songs and releasing a new album. She's also planning to hold a concert at the end of the year. Yu smiled. Xiaoguo is a very hard-working person. Next year, she's planning to participate in a foreign music show. She was already thin, but now she's even thinner because she's busy. Although she usually won't be at a disadvantage with Director Chen's help, there are a lot of people who are secretly trying to trip her up. Yu looked worried. Take yesterday, for example. If Xiaoguo hadn't been smart enough to notice that there was something wrong with the drink, her throat might have been poisoned. Long Rue couldn't help but tighten his grip on the armrest. Before the fan meeting last time, someone even ruined Xiaoguo's dress. If it wasn't discovered early, she might have embarrassed herself in public. When she was discussing the song with the music producer, she was even photographed from an angle. It almost caused a scandal like the one with Director Chen. Yu shook her head. Luckily, there was CCTV footage, and everything was clear. Otherwise, the producer couldn't possibly admit to being in a relationship with Xiaoguo. Then wouldn't outsiders say that Xiaoguo is a fickle person? Yu still had lingering fears. Director Chen is quite aggrieved. He was dragged into this for no reason. Actually, we're quite grateful to him. If he hadn't pretended to shoot for half a year, we might have encountered a lot of difficulties during the first release. As Yu spoke, she felt that something was amiss with Long Rue. Mr. Long, is there anything else? No more. Not long after Yu left, Long Rue picked up the music player and turned it on. Suddenly, a soothing singing voice was heard. It was that woman's voice. Listening to this woman's voice made his heart very calm. Moreover, ever since he met this woman, he couldn't find a better voice than hers. Find out everything about Tanghua in the past 6 months. I want to see it in an hour. Yes, Mr. Long. That day, Chen Yuesheng received a call from Long Rue. Why did you call me? Chen Yuesheng was surprised. Did you find another talent? Is she better than Guo? Hearing such an intimate address, Long Rue couldn't help but look murderous. It's been half a year. Chapter 51. Chen Yuesheng, you should announce on Weibo that you're breaking up. Chen Yuesheng stopped smiling. Long Rue, this has nothing to do with you, right? Of course it does. That woman is just moving out of the villa temporarily. She will return to my side soon. When Long Rue said this, his expression was very natural. The corners of his lips curled up. Yes, that should be the case. That woman should return to his side. Long Rue, you were the one who ended your relationship. Now, you have no right to ask her to do anything. Chen Yuesheng was a little angry. He had already planned to confess to Guo. Whether she accepted it or not, he would announce the breakup and then pursue her again. Guo was so good. She shouldn't be ruined by someone like Long Rue. Long Rue didn't know how to cherish her. He would cherish her. He would take good care of her. Chen Yuesheng, believe it or not, if I ask her to move back to the villa, she will definitely move back and leave you without hesitation. I don't believe it. Why should I? Chen Yuesheng thought Long Rue was ridiculous. She's a very independent person. She won't move back just because of your words. What if she agrees? If she agrees, I'll announce that our relationship is broken and we're breaking up. Long Rue smiled triumphantly. Okay, remember what you said? What if she doesn't agree? Chen Yuesheng took the opportunity to say, if she doesn't agree, you can't look for her again in the future, especially not to ruin our relationship. Long Rue's expression turned cold. She will definitely agree. Then, he hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Long Rue didn't go to look for Tangwa first. Instead, he called his assistant. Go and find out who harmed Tangwa, said bad things about her, slandered her, secretly took photos, drugged her, and found them all. A cruel smile flashed across Long Rue's face. Those who said bad things about her, those who spread rumors, those who exposed her secrets, those who took her photos, those who posted her private photos on the internet, those who drugged her. Let me think. Just cut off their tongues and break their hands, Long Rue answered casually. If there's anything that has designs on her, castrate it. The assistant trembled all over and glanced at Long Rue with a pale face. Seeing him leaning on the sofa with a smile, he quickly lowered his head. When the assistant was about to leave, he was stopped by Long Rue again. He trembled, thinking that Long Rue was going to do something cruel. Go and find out what flowers she likes. Yes, sir. Long Rue picked out the best suit for himself and put it on. He gave a perfect smile to the mirror. Although that woman was poison, he wanted to have a taste of it now. He would slowly taste it. He did not know how the poison tasted like. During the time that woman was away, he had always wanted to do something cruel. He could no longer control the murderous intent in his heart. He had already thought of the ending. If she didn't come back, he would kill her and break Chen Yuesheng's limbs. After all, this was the main reason why she didn't come back. If he didn't throw her into the sea to feed the fish and kept her body perfectly, she would stay by his side forever. Host, can I persuade you again? What is it? Don't provoke Long Rue anymore. Don't think about taking revenge on him. Okay? Although there are many misunderstandings between us, please believe me this time. Chapter 52. Tangwa didn't get the answer she wanted, so she ignored the system. When she was about to go home, Long Rue appeared. Chen Yuesheng appeared at the same time. Chen Yuesheng stood in front of her and blocked Long Rue's sight. Long Rue was holding a bouquet of red roses. Under the light, the red flowers were eerily red. Chen Yuesheng's eyes flashed with fear. Long Rue's expression reminded him of some bad memories. Long Rue, we agreed. You can't force Guo. Tangwa also felt that there was something wrong with Long Rue today. This man was mysterious and sexy before, but now, although he was smiling, she could feel the cruelty, excitement, and bloodthirst under his smile. Could it be that this was the reason why the system had warned her? Host, don't you think it's scary? What's going on? Host, good luck. I didn't expect him to come looking for you so soon. If you hadn't been trying to attract his attention, things wouldn't have turned out this way. I'll tell you about Long Rue when you survive today. The system's warning didn't leave any warning for Tangwa at all. Anyway, there was still the next world after death. Even if Long Rue killed her now, she wouldn't blink. She curled her lips and walked to Long Rue with a smile. Why are you here? Chen Yuesheng's heart sank when he saw Tangwa's reaction. Did Guo still like Long Rue? His heart was in agony. Long Rue pinched the woman's chin and narrowed his eyes. Go back with me and stay by my side. Don't betray me. You're here to pick me up? Tangwa was a bit surprised and chuckled. But you threw me out twice. Will you throw me out a third time? I won't throw you out if you're obedient. Long Rue smiled and stroked the woman's smooth face. Do you understand? Otherwise, I'll have to turn you into a corpse. Chen Yuesheng shivered. If he hadn't thought of the consequences, he would have rushed over and taken Tanghua away. The consequence of taking Tanghua away was that both of them would become corpses after today. The system warned Tanghua not to court death, but Tanghua leaned against the man's chest and looked up. Then what are you going to do to bring me back? Huh? A captive pet? Long Rui pinched the woman's chin. Can I, Mrs. Long? Chun Yuesheng's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling about this. Not good. Hearing Tanghua's words, Chun Yuesheng became nervous. He could already feel the coldness emanating from that man. Why? Tanghua narrowed her eyes and raised her head. I still prefer to be a pet, like a canary. Long Rui's dangerous expression disappeared and turned into a smile. STSS, I'm T-Tess, Long, T-I-U. You can't break to go back. Chun Yuesheng pulled out his phone and opened Weibo with trembling hands. He took a deep breath and reluctantly posted about his breakup with Tanghua. Chun Yuesheng called out to Tanghua, who was being helped into the car. Are you all right? Chapter 53. The breakup between Chun Yuesheng and Tanghua undoubtedly caused a huge uproar. Because it was Chun Yuesheng who posted on Weibo personally and only said that they were not on good terms, and no one found anything wrong with it, the other party was a little surprised. In the end, after a few days of chaos, people forgot about it. After Tanghua was brought back to the villa by Long Rui, their relationship did not change much. The difference was that Long Rui's gaze was more focused on her. At the same time, he also sent 2 bodyguards to follow her at all times. This guy even moved her work equipment to the villa. Long Rui plugged in his headphones and listened to the music player while watching Tanghua work. Long Rui, give me your music player. Long Rui took off his headphones. What for? You gave this to me. Tanghua felt that Long Rui had changed too. Of course, she did not care about this. She stretched out her fair hand, and Long Rui still placed the music player in her palm. In the end, he said, remember to return it to me. Not long after, the music player returned to Long Rui's hand. He opened it and found that there were many more songs. These are all the songs in my life. There won't be any new ones. Tanghua looked at Long Rui and said, the one in your hand is the most complete. I don't know if these hundreds of songs can help me reach my goal of becoming popular all over the world. Long Rui held the music player tightly and patted Tanghua's head. I will keep it for you. I will support you. You will be popular all over the world. Of course, you have to support me, Tanghua said with a smile. You are my sugar daddy. If you don't support me, I will have to find someone else to support me. Others won't have the chance. Long Rui's smile became a little cruel again. He would go crazy from time to time, and Tanghua was already used to it. I'm going to rest for a while. Long Rui fiddled with the music player and was counting how many songs there were in it. Okay, idiot, tell me what's wrong with Long Rui. Tanghua lay on the bed and closed her eyes. I thought you forgot. We have to start from Long Rui's past. He was born in the Long family and was supposed to be a very happy young master. When he was 1 year old, his mother abandoned him and his father and ran away with her lover. In order to find his mother, his father left him behind. Host, you should know that without the protection of their parents, the life of a child from a big family is not easy. His friends who were originally by his side also abandoned him and stopped playing with him. They went to chase after the other young masters of the Long family. His grandfather, who used to dote on him, started to neglect him more and more. Even the puppy he raised was snatched away by his other cousins. In the end, it even barked at him. PFFF, host, please be serious. I am talking to you about the hidden plot. Now that you've provoked this fiend, you have to understand him better. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape. Okay, and then? Then, the system shuddered when it recalled those scenes. Then, he worked hard and became the successor of the Long family. He stewed the puppy in front of everyone and ate it. The friend who betrayed him lost everything and even had his leg broken. Old Master Long was stripped of his power and thrown to a corner of the mansion. He ordered everyone in the Long family to ignore him. Even if they saw him, they had to choose not to see him. Chapter 54. Host, that's not the point. Go on. Later, his parents and his mother's lover came back. When they found out about what happened to his family, they planned to work together to destroy him, or rather, kill him. Assassination, poisoning, and using women to confuse him. There are all sorts of methods. Then he's really pitiful. Tangwa really felt pity for him. These people must not have had a good ending, right? System. What a pitiful motherfucker. That's called madness, okay? Yes. The system was weak. It would die of anger sooner or later if it talked to the host. That man's hands and legs were cut off, and he was thrown into the sea to feed the fish. His parents were locked up by him in the end. In the end, they wanted to escape, but of course, they didn't succeed. They even had an accident and lost their lives. Now, their bodies are still intact in the Long family. A few years ago, he would go back to see them from time to time. Every time he went back, he would squat beside the coffin and say strange things for the whole night. His smile was ferocious and terrifying. A few years ago, a woman approached him. She was the woman who lived in the villa for a month. Later, he found out that this woman approached him to pry into his business secrets, so he threw her into the sea to feed the fish. The system trembled. He watched her feed the fish with his own eyes. He even had a smile on his face. I remember that he even smoked a cigarette. The system thought that saying these things would scare Tangwa out of her mind. In the end, it found that its host's psychological quality was unusually good. She was even muttering to herself, "So you're a person who's so afraid of being thrown away. Why do you like to throw others away so much?" When the system saw the smile on Tangwa's face, the feeling in its heart got worse and worse. Host, since you've provoked him, then live a good life with him. Don't do anything to betray him. It was really worried. The host should occupy a very important position in Longrue's heart. Once the host betrayed him, it was worried that the host would be skinned alive. Don't worry, I won't betray him. The system heaved a sigh of relief. That's good. I'll treat him very well. I'll let him think that I'm the only one who treats him the best in the world. Tangwa's lips curled up slightly. He's really pitiful, isn't he? System. Why do I feel like something is wrong? After that, the system finally understood that Tangwa was not just joking. For example, Tangwa would personally cook for Longrue. Sometimes, when she was free, she would put the food in an insulated box and send it to the company. For example, Tangwa would personally go to the mall to buy a suit for Longrue and help him change out of it. For example, Tangwa would cling to Longrue and ask him to accompany her to the amusement park. The two of them would try out all the attractions. Although the system felt uneasy, it gradually calmed down when it saw that Longrue's smile was no longer as cruel as before. Even the way he looked at Tangwa was becoming gentler. Perhaps the host was pitying Longrue? It wasn't that Longrue didn't do anything. Ever since he brought Tangwa back, he would grab all the music-related resources and give them to Tangwa. In his opinion, these should belong to Tangwa. Chen Yuesheng saw that Longrue treated Tangwa so well, and there was no problem between the two of them. He could only bury his thoughts in his heart, although it was not a good feeling. Tangwa was doing very well, but every time she was intercepted and robbed of resources, Lu Qi almost went mad with anger. Chapter 55. Time passed in a flash, and it was the day of Tangwa's concert. With Longrue and Chen Yuesheng personally organizing it, this concert was unprecedentedly grand. Tangwa's popularity could no longer be lowered. No one had thought that a newcomer who had only debuted for more than a year could be so popular. The moment the concert was announced, the tickets for Tangwa's concert were already hard to get. Longrue and Chen Yuesheng sat at the front of the concert, the two best seats. Their eyes were all on the woman on the stage. Chen Yuesheng inadvertently noticed Longrue's gentle and focused gaze. Maybe I was wrong. She can actually be very good by your side. Chen Yuesheng was sad. After all, she cares about you so much. It's good that you understand. Chen Yuesheng smiled bitterly. Longrue, you're so lucky. Maybe this is God's compensation for you. He had lost the love of his family and everyone's love in exchange for Tangwa. If it were him, he would feel that it was enough. Long Rui held the thermos in his hand and suddenly felt very warm. This was given to him by Tanghua before she went backstage. She even reminded him to remember to change the water. After finding Tanghua and spending time with Tanghua, the impetuousness and murderous thoughts in his heart gradually disappeared. In fact, his memories of the past had almost faded away. Chun Yuesheng sighed. Forget it. I can't win against you. Don't always think of guarding against me. Guo-er has never liked me. She has always treated me as a senior. When are you getting married? Married? Don't tell me you haven't thought of marrying her? Chun Yuesheng was a little angry. Guo-er is willing to follow you. Haven't you thought about your future with her? Long Rui fell into deep thought. She said she doesn't want to be Mrs. Long. How can that be? Since Guo-er likes you, she must be willing to care about you. How can she not want to be Mrs. Long? It must be you. You must have done something to make her unwilling. Long Rui frowned. Maybe. I warned her at first not to think about being Mrs. Long. Thinking of this, his heart tightened. If this was the reason, then it was really his fault. As expected, I knew it. It must be because of a pervert like you. Chun Yuesheng sneered. I'm a little worried that Guo-er will be hurt in the future if she follows you. Look, you've chased her out of the villa twice and warned her not to think about the position of Mrs. Long. Now, you want to tie her to your side and let her follow you for no reason. Long Rui, have you thought about her thoughts? Long Rui couldn't explain it clearly. He had always felt that this was quite good. As long as Tanghua was by his side, after hearing Chun Yuesheng's words, he was a little more aware. Perhaps he should do more. Mrs. Long? He narrowed his eyes. It seemed to be not bad. I'll ask her after the concert. Chun Yuesheng took a deep breath and sat down angrily. He didn't want to say another word to Long Rui. Chi-Chi, are you okay? Lung Ziyue was worried about Lu Qi. If you don't want to, you don't have to come. Lung Ziyue looked at the woman on the stage and felt that this was a dream. Was his father crazy? This woman's concert actually asked everyone from Nebula Music and Nebula Entertainment to come. Chapter 56. Lu Qi pulled her woolen hat down, almost covering half of her face. Lung Zi could not see the coldness in her eyes. He only thought that she was cold and hugged her tightly. However, a woman's beautiful voice came into his ears. He could not help but glance at the woman on the stage. His eyes flashed with infatuation. He had to admit that after breaking up with Tanghua for more than a year, every time he heard her voice, his heart could not help but tremble. However, because the man behind Tanghua was Lung Rui, he did not dare to think too much. Lu Qi raised her head slightly and sneered. Tanghua, I'll let you enjoy your last glory. Just when the audience was in high spirits, a situation suddenly occurred. The lights that were fine before suddenly broke and crashed onto the stage. The audience exclaimed. They did not dare to look up and quickly covered their eyes. One person reacted the fastest, almost faster than ordinary people. He jumped up from below the stage and hugged the person on the stage who seemed to be scared out of her wits. He quickly rolled to the side and protected the small body in his arms. At this time, Chun Yuesheng also ran to the stage and hurriedly shouted. In fact, when the lights on the stage loosened, the system had reminded Tanghua, and she had already prepared where to avoid it. She did not expect that when she was about to avoid it, she would suddenly be hugged and rolled to the other side. Hearing the sound of the lights crashing down, because of the close distance, she temporarily lost her hearing. After a while, she raised her head and saw the face of the person hugging her. Lung Rui. Host, are you touched? Although Lung Rui is a little crazy, when you were in danger, he still came to save you without hesitation. So, in the rest of your life, don't mess around. Live a good life with him, Idiot. System. In every world, there are one or two people who will do something that moves me. Later, they all want to help the female lead. Tanghua shook her head and sighed. This is really a sad story. Host, we have to look forward. Don't always remember the past. Some bad memories, we should forget. The system earnestly persuaded her. Are you okay? A slightly nervous voice came from above. Tanghua lay on Long Rui's chest and could clearly feel his rapidly beating heart. Guer, how are you? Chun Yuesheng looked anxious as he urged the medical staff to come over and check. After checking several times and confirming that there was nothing wrong with Tanghua and that she was not injured, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The fans below the stage were a little worried. Would the concert continue? According to Long Rue, he obviously wanted to end the concert. In fact, he had already ordered someone to investigate the culprit that tried to sabotage Tanghua. Should we continue? The woman's smile was still as sweet as ever. She nodded at Long Rue. There are still so many people waiting for me. There aren't many opportunities like this. Long Rue said, if you want to hold a concert, I'll hold one for you every year. There will be many opportunities. Although Chen Yuesheng didn't like Long Rue, he agreed with him and nodded. But Tanghua still insisted. The two of them had no choice but to sit down in fear. Later, they understood why Tanghua said there weren't many opportunities like this. Every time they thought about it, it was heartbreaking. Chapter 57. It was time for the concert to interact with the fans. The shocking scene had already passed, and after listening to Tanghua's song, everyone calmed down. One of the fans couldn't help but ask, Guagua, who was that handsome guy who dared to disregard his own safety just now? All I saw was a blur, and he protected Guagua in his arms. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when I saw that scene. If there was someone like him, I would marry him without hesitation. The female fan who asked the question had stars in her eyes and looked at Long Rue from time to time. Long Rue also felt many eyes on him and couldn't help but sit up straighter. He looked at the woman on the stage and clenched his fists tightly. He was even sweating a little. Tanghua smiled but didn't say anything. This made the fans anxious and Long Rue a little anxious. Just when everyone couldn't take it anymore, Tanghua picked up the microphone and said gently, "Someone very important to me." Hearing this, the fans couldn't help but cheer. Long Rue wasn't satisfied with this answer. He immediately jumped up the stage and snatched Tanghua's microphone. He hugged the woman's waist in front of everyone and glanced at the fans below with disdain. The tens of thousands of fans were originally noisy, but for some reason, they couldn't help but quiet down when this man glanced at them. "My surname is Long. You can call her Mrs. Long." Long Rue felt that this was a good opportunity. The domineering declaration of sovereignty made the atmosphere of the venue rise again. If it were any other time, Tanghua's announcement that she was in a new relationship would probably make many people feel disgusted. But what happened before made some people feel uneasy. No matter who it was, as long as it was a woman, when a man stood up for her when she was in danger, they would be touched. Even though this woman wasn't theirs and this man wasn't theirs, everyone was still touched. Long Rue was very satisfied with the reaction of the people below. He turned to look at the woman beside him and saw that she didn't look unwilling. The corners of his lips curled up into a happy smile. Then, he returned the microphone to Tanghua and walked off the stage. Although Long Rue is a little crazy, once he confirms that you are in his circle of protection, he is not bad. Host, you don't have much time left. Enjoy your time. Although the host can change the fate of the supporting female lead and destroy a world, the host can change the fate of the supporting female lead. However, there was one thing that the host could not change, and that was the female supporting lead's lifespan. According to the normal plot, the host could only live as long as the supporting female lead lived. Some worlds were more special and would extend their lifespan according to the storyline, but it would not exceed 10 years. In other words, if Tanghua took over the body of the supporting female lead, she would at most live 10 years longer than the original owner. The one who was the saddest at the scene was Lu Qi, who was so angry that her heart ached. Lung Ziyue didn't notice Lu Qi's abnormality. He just felt that the scene on the stage was really dazzling. From today onwards, everyone knew that Tanghua was Long Rue's woman. No one else had a chance. Lung Ziyue had to admit that when Lu Qi went abroad and spent time with Tanghua, he actually fell in love with Tanghua. Ziyu. When Lu Qi came back to her senses, she found that Lung Ziyue was staring at the woman performing on the stage with an infatuated look. Her voice was sharp and unpleasant to the ears. Chapter 58. Lu Qi's unreasonable behavior made Lung Ziyue's already irritated heart even more irritated. Therefore, when Lu Qi ran out of the concert in tears, Long Ziyue didn't chase after her. He just sat quietly in his seat and watched the woman on the stage sing. The more he watched, the more he couldn't help but rub his hair. In the end, he shook his head with a bitter smile. It was ridiculous. He finally understood that he had Tanguo in his heart for a long time. When the concert ended, Long Ziyue couldn't control himself and went to look for Tanguo. "Why are you here?" It was Long Rue who asked. Long Ziyue was always afraid of Long Rue. He was deeply afraid of Long Rue since the day Long Rue picked him up from the orphanage. "Dad." Long Ziyue didn't dare to look at Tanguo. I just came to take a look." He secretly glanced at Tanguo, who was removing her makeup. From here, he could only see the back of the woman's white neck. "You came at the right time." Long Rue thought of something and couldn't help but smile. He picked up Tanguo, who had finished removing her makeup, and pulled her in front of Long Ziyue. "She's your mother from now on. She's 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 your mother. She's your mother." Long Ziyue looked like he was struck by lightning. His eyes widened and his body almost went limp. Long Rue saw Long Ziyue's stunned expression and took a puff of his cigarette. "Why? Do you have a problem with it?" No, he had a big problem with it. Seeing this woman in Long Rue's arms, Long Ziyue finally broke down. This woman should have been his. He would never agree to call her mom. Long Ziyue seemed to have decided something and said loudly, "I don't agree." "Not bad. You know how to refute. Your temper has grown." Long Rue put out the cigarette and leaned to the side. "However, your objection is invalid." Long Ziyue looked at Tanguo, wanting to say something, but hesitated. Tanguo's eyes curved, and she said in a sweet voice, "If Ziyue doesn't like to call me mom, you can call me Aunt Xiaoguo." System. Biffed. When Long Rue heard Tanguo's words, he was very happy. He nodded and said, "Yes, you can call her Annie Xiaoguo. After all, we're not married yet. Calling her mom is a little too old." Long Ziyue glared at the adulterous couple in front of him. He almost jumped up and bit them. Impossible. He would never call Tanguo mom, nor would he call her Aunt Xiaoguo. This was supposed to be his woman. Perhaps because he had suffered too many blows today, Long Ziyue suddenly laughed and looked deeply at Tanguo. "Dad, there's one thing that Tanguo didn't tell you, right?" At this moment, Long Ziyue had a crazy idea in his heart. Since he couldn't get it, then no one else could either. Even if this person was his father, the person who had helped him escape the abyss of the orphanage. However, he did not think that Long Rue was pitying him. The way Long Rue looked at him was clearly like he was looking at a pitiful puppy. Long Ziyue's lips curled into a triumphant smile. "Did she tell you about the relationship between her and me?" After saying this, Long Ziyue noticed the coldness in Long Rue's eyes and became even more proud. "We used to be boyfriend and girlfriend." Long Ziyue smiled happily. "Dad, you didn't expect this, right? She used to be my woman. Now you want to be with her, and even want me to call her mom. If this gets out, don't you think it's funny? Most importantly, Dad, you're so misophobic. Would you want a woman that your son used before?" Chapter 59. Long Rue didn't let go of Tanguo and chase her away as Long Ziyue wished. Instead, he hugged Tanguo even tighter, his brows deeply furrowed. He really didn't like his things being touched by other people. If it had been someone else, he would have destroyed that person immediately. "I wanted to tell you a long time ago, Dad, but I thought that you've always been playing with women, so I didn't care. I didn't expect Tanguo to be so capable. She actually coaxed you into marrying her." Long Ziyue seemed to have gone crazy. "Now I have to tell you the truth." Long Ziyue was very pleased. Ever since they broke up, Tanguo had ignored him. He could even see the indifference in her eyes. In the past, Tanguo liked him so much. Whether it was in her heart or in her eyes, there was only him. He didn't know when, but he could no longer see his shadow in this woman's eyes. Every time he heard this woman compare him to Long Rue, he was angry. She could have found anyone else, but she chose Long Rue, a person he always had to look up to and even deeply fear. He thought that after he broke up with her, she would die or be very unwilling to accept it. Even if they broke up, she would still have him in her heart. The reality was that this woman forgot about him in the blink of an eye. Dad, you still don't know, right? The time she broke up with me was the day before I came back and met you guys. The 20 million I came back to ask for is the compensation for her. Lung Ziyue couldn't wait to expose all of this woman's shortcomings in front of Long Rui. He couldn't have it, and he didn't want Long Rui to have it. He didn't hesitate to destroy her reputation. He felt that he was crazy. That's right, he was crazy. It was this woman who ignored, despised, and looked down on him time and time again that finally drove him crazy. After breaking up with me, she turned around and found another man. Dad, I still advise you not to marry such a woman. She might be secretly plotting to steal your assets. When the time is right, she might murder her husband and take everything you have for herself. Lung Ziyue's smile was very crazy. He subconsciously looked at Tanghua. The woman in Long Rui's arms was still smiling casually, as if the person he was talking about was not her. There was no smile on Long Rui's face. Tanghua looked up at him. Lung Ziyue didn't say anything else. Now, he felt that Long Rui couldn't possibly treat this woman the same as before. Tanghua hugged Long Rui's arm and a faint smile appeared on her face. She quickly lowered her head and said in a sweet voice, Long Rui, are you going to abandon me for the third time? Long Rui felt a pair of small hands grabbing onto his arm even tighter than usual. When Lung Ziyue said those words, he really did want to throw Tanghua away. No, he wanted to destroy her. He clearly knew that he could not control who Tanghua had a relationship with before him. Anyone could do it, but it had to be Lung Ziyue. Lung Rui didn't say anything. He felt the little hand that was hugging him slowly loosen its grip. As the temperature left, he felt empty in his heart. He subconsciously grabbed onto Tanghua's loosened hand. I won't throw you away. Lung Rui stared at Tanghua. His slender fingers slowly stroked her fair neck. He held it gently as if it would break with a casual snap. Chapter 60. I won't throw you away. From now on, you're not allowed to see Lung Ziyue alone without my permission. Lung Rui squeezed Tanghua's wrist tightly. Then, he turned to look at the shocked Lung Ziyue and narrowed his eyes. Lung Ziyue subconsciously had a bad feeling. Sure enough, he heard Lung Rui say, Don't you have a girlfriend? Yes. At this time, Lung Ziyue was completely awake. A chill rose from the bottom of his feet. He secretly regretted being impulsive and saying so much. The man in front of him was a person who didn't care about his family. Lung Rui smiled deeply. Since you have a girlfriend, it's time to get married. I'll get someone to help you choose a date and prepare for the wedding. Lung Ziyue trembled and stared at Long Rui with wide eyes. His lips and teeth were trembling. This man was going to hold a wedding for Tanghua? Was this to stop him from thinking about it? Don't think I can't tell. Long Rui smiled cruelly and gently pinched Tanghua's face. This is your mother, and can only be your mother. Hearing this, Lung Ziyue staggered. His head was buzzing. Looking at Long Rui's back as he left with Tanghua, he vaguely heard Long Rui's cold and gentle voice. It seemed to be something he said to Tanghua. It wasn't sweet talk, but more like a warning. Lung Ziyue is your son from now on. Lung Ziyue collapsed to the ground and helplessly covered his face. Lung Rui held Tanghua's hand all the way back to the villa. He had a smile on his face as if nothing was wrong, but it was that extremely strange smile on his face that made people tremble in fear. When they arrived at the villa, Lung Rui pushed Tanghua into the bathroom and said, Wash up before you go back to the room. After Tanghua was pushed into the bathroom, she realized that the bathroom door was locked. Host, calm down. The system's voice sounded weakly. Long Rui is a pervert. Don't argue with him. He's only so bothered because your ex is Lung Ziyue. Tanghua closed her eyes and lay in the bathtub. She looked normal. Lung Ziyue? Is he not just an orphan? Ian, do you think the male lead has an ordinary identity? The system was a little helpless. This wasn't originally related to the main storyline. I didn't expect you to accidentally trigger it. As for Lung Ziyue's background, it was long after Tanghua's death. Tanghua opened her eyes. What happened after Tanghua's death? Lung Ziyue found out the truth about his background and joined forces with Lu Qi to kill Lung Rui. Tanghua, uffed. I thought it was a big boss, but it's just cannon fodder. Host, that's not the main point. Then who is Lung Ziyu? Vaguely, Tanghua already had some guesses, but she was not sure. The son of Long Rue's mother and her lover. The system reluctantly revealed this information. The plot was getting more and more complicated. Who asked it to have such a host? Long Rue knew from the beginning that he wanted his enemy's son to call him father every day to satisfy his perverted heart. Chapter 61. So, he first threw Lung Ziyue into the orphanage. Then, when Lung Ziyue was bullied, he brought him back, making Lung Ziyue grateful to him. He also had a plan to make Lung Ziyue misunderstand that he needed an heir. In fact, he made a will a long time ago. After he died, all his assets would be donated, and Lung Ziyue wouldn't get a single cent. Even the villa he lived in, Long Jia's mansion, as long as it was under his control, it would be auctioned. In any case, he wouldn't leave a single cent for Lung Ziyue. The system's body trembled. So, host, you usually see that every time Lung Ziyue asked for money, Long Rue would give it to him without asking. It's because he wants Lung Ziyue to get used to a rich life. The richer he is now, the more comfortable he will be. When he falls in the future, he might not even be able to live a day. Tanghua chuckled. He's a ruthless person. It's really worth learning. It seems that I went too easy on him. I've learned. System, host, forget it, host. Anyway, this world is about to collapse. The only thing I want to say now is that you should go along with Lung Rue, in case he becomes even more perverted. The system was a little panicked. Lung Ziyue's level of destruction was even more terrifying than its host. Tanghua smiled carelessly. Come on, let's hurt each other. Anyway, we're all cannon fodder. Because of Lung Ziyue, Lung Rue probably won't officially marry you. Host, your wish of eating Lung Rue probably won't be fulfilled. The system didn't know if it was gloating or really feeling sorry for Tanghua. Who asked your ex-boyfriend to be Lung Ziyue? He even personally admitted your relationship. You haven't denied it. Even if you deny it, it won't be clean. He'll find out once he checks. In the end, the system weakly expressed its opinion. Actually, what I want to say is that the male and female leads, as well as the main supporting characters, aren't doing well. They're all about to collapse. Host, in the following time, don't seek death. Just dawdle around and wait for death. Idiot, you've changed too. In the past, you've always encouraged me to complete missions seriously and not give up easily. What's wrong? Have you given up on yourself and decided to give up? The system was also helpless. What could it do with a host who liked to cause trouble? Actually, you're afraid that I'll disappear? Disappear into these worlds. Tanghua closed his eyes and murmured. The system was shocked and broke out in cold sweat, if he could really sweat. He didn't dare to speak. The more he spoke, the more he would reveal. You don't have to be afraid. I won't do anything to you, Tanghua said lazily. However, if you know who's behind this, you can tell them that if they have the ability to keep me in these worlds, don't let me out, or it'll be the end of them. After soaking in the bathtub for almost an hour, Tanghua felt the bathroom door open and got out of the bathtub. She dried her hair and instinctively found the hairdryer. She held it in front of Long Rue and felt his dark eyes moving on her body. He had no intention of reaching out his hand. She suddenly smiled, took the hairdryer, and sat far away to dry her hair. Habits were indeed scary. In the past few months, Long Rue had helped her wash her hair every time. After today, this guy would probably not help her blow-dry her hair anymore. Chapter 62. With the eyesight of a normal person, she realized that the chair was placed a lot further away from the bed. Lung Rue didn't say anything and kept his eyes on her. Tanghua didn't care. She wore thick winter pajamas and sat aside as usual. What do you want to listen to today? Lung Rue fiddled with the music player that Tanghua gave him. He thought for a long time, but still couldn't bear to throw it away. But when he thought about how this woman had been touched by the son of the person he hated the most, he couldn't control the murderous intent in his heart. Then think about it carefully. You don't have many days like this left. Tanghua smiled carelessly and looked at the music player in Long Rue's hand. Remember to make a copy of the songs inside so that you don't lose them. Those are all the songs I have in my life. You promised me that you would keep them well. Long Rue's mind was filled with thoughts of whether he should keep this woman or kill her, wash her clean, and keep her. As for what Tanghua said, he didn't pay much attention to it. If he had paid more attention, he might not have regretted it so much. After that, Tanghua and Long Rue's interactions seemed to be separated by a layer of transparent film. Tanghua didn't seem to care about the current situation at all. She was really busy. Busy releasing a new album, busy developing her foreign market, busy meeting her fans, busy going on various domestic music programs. From that day onwards, Long Rue didn't let her hug his arm anymore. He had to be 2 or 3 steps away from her when he talked to her. Tanghua didn't make any further moves and didn't have any contact with Long Ziyue. This made Long Rue give up the idea of killing her and keeping her. Perhaps he wanted to put a layer of cling film on Tanghua or wear a sterile suit that could cover her entire body. As for Long Ziyue, he really regretted what he said that day. He didn't dare to go back to the villa to see Long Rue. Moreover, Long Rue had already informed him that the wedding was being prepared and asked him to propose quickly. Later on, he and Lu Qi made up. Lu Qi even said that he was too impulsive and cared too much about her. Long Ziyue's heart softened. He thought that Lu Qi was someone he liked and cared about him so much. It was impossible to be with Tanghua. He couldn't let down such a good girl like Lu Qi again. So, he found an opportunity to propose to Lu Qi in public. Now, the entertainment news was all about Long Ziyue and Lu Qi's wedding. The news of their wedding almost grabbed all the headlines. Finally, Lu Qi could hold her head up high. Guo, why did you lose so much weight? Chen Yuesheng knew Long Rue's personality, so he tried to avoid meeting Tanghua in private. For Tanghua, the reason for this meeting was that both of them had to prepare for a music program. To me? Tanghua held the script and shook her head with a smile. I know my body. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm not famous all over the world. I'll live well. Chen Yuesheng frowned. Looking at the woman who was reading the script seriously, he couldn't persuade her. In the end, he could only call Long Rue secretly. Chapter 63. At that moment, Long Rue was handling documents in his office. Listening to the beautiful song coming from the music player, his expression was relaxed. He was a little surprised when he suddenly received a call from Chen Yuesheng. Then, he received a short video. The woman who was flipping through the script suddenly paused. Just as Chen Yuesheng said, she had lost a lot of weight. He deliberately did not look at her because he did not know if he would kill her if he looked at her. Therefore, in the past few months, he had ignored her existence, but he was also used to her existence. He just did not look at her. As long as he knew that she was by his side, it was fine. This is the result of taking good care of her? Chen Yuesheng was furious. If I were alone, Long Rue, I would really fight with you. Long Rue did not say anything. He stared at the woman on the small screen. He hung up the phone with Chen Yuesheng and called his assistant. Go and get a senior nutritionist and send him to her. In a month, I want to see the results of her gaining 5 kilograms. After Tanghua finished recording the show, a senior nutritionist who claimed to be sent by Long Rue appeared in front of her. Okay, you arrange it. Seeing that Tanghua was so easy to talk to, the nutritionist really heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he saw Tanghua's workload and was a little worried. The task of gaining 5 kilograms in a month was probably a little difficult. When Chen Yuesheng saw this, he was also relieved. With a nutritionist by Tanghua's side at all times, she would not forget to eat because of work. However, he still dragged Tanghua to the hospital for a checkup. In the end, other than some anemia, there was no other illness. He was really relieved and sent a copy of the checkup report to Long Rue. He also reminded him, I think you should take her for a checkup regularly. Chen Yuesheng felt that Tanghua was too thin. In addition, she was working so hard, so he felt uneasy. That was why he reminded Long Rue. Long Rue listened. Every month, he would get someone to bring Tanghua to the hospital for a checkup. This life lasted for nearly 2 years. Once again, he received Tanghua's checkup report. Tanghua giggled and said, Long Rue, are you afraid that I'll die? Long Rui tightened his grip on the report. He glanced at Tanghua and read the report carefully. When he felt that there were no problems, he finally felt relieved. As long as I'm here, you won't die unless I want you to. Tanghua narrowed her eyes and suddenly moved to Long Rui's side. She pretended to hug Long Rui's arm, but he quickly dodged. I was just scaring you. Tanghua stuck out her tongue. She looked really naughty today. If I really die, will you be sad? Long Rui frowned. He didn't want to think about this problem. However, he thought of another problem. If this woman died before him in the future, he must save her. Only then could he visit her whenever he missed her. Next month, my album will be released overseas. Tanghua smiled. If it succeeds, I'll completely open the foreign market. Then, I'll go to several major foreign countries to hold concerts. My wish will come true. By the way, isn't Long Ziyue and Lu Qi's wedding next month? Tanghua was a little regretful. It seems that I can't attend. Long Rui's eyes turned cold. You don't have to attend. When the wedding is over and you come back, let them see you. Chapter 64. Long Rui looked at the number on the electronic scale. It still hadn't changed. He had a feeling that he had messed up the scale. I should get you another nutritionist. Tanghua quickly begged for mercy. Don't, Long Rui. This is already the 7th one. If you change it again, I promise I won't be able to eat. The food made by this nutritionist is the best. If you change it again, I really won't accept it. Let's go to the mall. Today, Tanghua pestered Long Rui to come out. He didn't object. After coming out, he felt good. However, he was still somewhat resistant to contact with her. He also somewhat hated his own reaction. It was almost subconscious. Therefore, he was even more afraid that he would subconsciously break her delicate neck. I haven't picked out clothes for you in a long time. I'll pick out more for you today. After all, there aren't many opportunities like this. Tanghua muttered to herself. Although she was picking out clothes, she didn't touch them with her hands. She only asked the salesgirl to take down the set that she liked and urged Long Rui to change. Every time Long Rui changed a set, she would smile with admiration. This is good. This is not bad either. Long Rui, you're a natural clothes hanger. Any clothes look good on you. Hey, are you interested in being a model? Your figure will definitely be very popular in the modeling world. Forget it. You're a big boss. Who has the right to admire your beautiful face every day? Long Rui looked at the pile of clothes that had been wrapped up. Enough. There were so many that he wouldn't be able to wear them all even if he wore them for a few years. Pick out more. Tanghua ignored Long Rui's objection and continued to wander around other places. Long Rui thought to himself that he had a lot of money and wouldn't be able to take it away even if he died in the future. She could spend it however she wanted. You're about to give birth. I'll pick out a watch for you. Long Rui followed behind Tanghua. Seeing her busy appearance, he felt a rare sense of calm in his heart. Looking at the woman lying on the counter in high spirits, he didn't have the heart to ruin her mood. He then saw her pointing at a watch. After the shop assistant took out the watch, she was about to touch it when she quickly retracted her hand. His heart couldn't help but stop. Long Rui, give it a try. Long Rui walked to the woman's side. He picked up the watch and put it on, seeing that she wanted to help him adjust his position, but in the end, she retracted her hand. His heart ached. The woman leaned against the counter and kept praising him. Her smile was pure and her eyes were transparent, reflecting his shadow. This one. Do you like it? Long Rui's eyes fell from the watch to the woman's expectant eyes. He nodded and got a bright smile from her. This smile made Long Rui feel very sad. Then this is it. From the beginning to the end, she didn't touch the watch even once. She was clearly looking forward to touching it. It was just a packaged watch. She didn't touch the packaging and left it to her assistant and bodyguard. She was smiling the whole time, as if nothing had happened. Host, why do you have to? Put down the butcher's knife. The system couldn't stand it anymore. You're so good to him with ulterior motives. Aren't you tired? Tanghua raised her eyebrows lightly. You're wrong. I'm sincerely good to him. Everything I do, to anyone, is done willingly from the bottom of my heart. Chapter 65. I'm good to him because we're both cannon fodder. I want him to experience the love that he never had before. I want him to understand the feeling of being cared for. Tangwa smiled. This feeling is like the most poisonous poison. Once you're poisoned, you can't get rid of it. You might even be madly infatuated with it. If a person has never been cared for or cared for in their lifetime, wouldn't they have lived in vain? Besides, he treats me well. I really want to treat him better. The system trembled. But aren't you cruel? He'll lose it in the end. That'll drive him crazy. You can't get anything forever. Don't you understand? Losing something after getting it is better than not getting it at all, right? System. I can only feel the pervert in your heart. Isn't it good to be loved and cared for by others? System. Host. I feel that not only do you lack love, but you're also perverted. You're always scheming to hurt others. I'm a person with principles. If others don't hurt me, I won't hurt others. If someone gives me all their sincerity and trust, I'll do the same. This was the second time Tangwa expressed her thoughts to the system. The system hurriedly took out a small notebook and wrote it down. This was beneficial for analyzing the host's current psychological state. In the future, it would be easier to break through her psychological defenses and solve her mentality of wanting to destroy the world. With this analysis, the host was actually still full of emotions. It was just that her personality had become more extreme, and the way she handled things was becoming more and more perverted. The system couldn't help but ask again. Host, if a person who sincerely treats you well appears in one of the worlds in your mission, will you return to your original state? To be honest, he was looking forward to it. If possible, he didn't mind doing some things beyond his authority, as long as the original host returned. Stupid thing. When did you become so naive? The system was disappointed. As expected, it couldn't be done. Before Tangwa left the country, Lung Ziyue took the risk to find a time when Lung Rui wasn't around and came to Tangwa. Tangwa still had a smile on her face. It had been more than 2 years since that incident. Son, what's the matter? Lung Ziyue's originally brewing mood was ruined by Tangwa's words. His face was red. He wanted to argue. But when he saw the woman who was so thin, he couldn't bear it. I'm sorry. Tangwa's lips curled into a smile. Oh, what have you done wrong to me? If you say that you let me down, then you've already lost money, and I've also taken my revenge. There's actually no debt between us. Anyway, Xiaoguo, I'm sorry. Lung Ziyue pursed his lips. I will find a chance to explain to my father that nothing actually happened between us. He had seen the way Tangwa interacted with Lung Rui over the past year. He didn't know why Lung Rui was so obsessed with cleanliness that he wouldn't let Tangwa get close to him because of one sentence from him. Not only that, but he also wanted to keep Tangwa by his side. Just because of one sentence from him, Tangwa might be like this for the rest of her life. That day, he was also at the mall. He watched as Tangwa happily picked out things for Lung Rui. In the end, because Lung Rui didn't want to get too close to her, he didn't dare to touch those things. It made his heart clench. If he hadn't said those words, Tangwa and Lung Rui might have been living very well. Chapter 66. There's no need for that. It doesn't matter whether I tell you or not. Good boy. Do you think that with my IQ, it'll be easy for me to explain this matter? I just hope that he will ask me the truth himself and not believe what you say. When Lung Ziyue returned, only Tangwa's words echoed in his mind. The thin and weak woman still had a sweet smile on her face, but why did it make his heart ache? He didn't understand the meaning behind it. He only asked, Lung Rui is such a proud person. What if he doesn't ask you? Are you going to continue like this? He didn't understand this woman. He still didn't understand why she was doing this. He didn't know if he was angry or heartbroken. If he doesn't ask, then forget it. These were the last words the woman said before boarding the plane. She had a faint smile on her face. Arrogance has to pay the price, right? System. Host. Actually, in this world, there's no such thing as a do-over. There are many things that don't give people a chance to regret. What's done is done. No matter how much you try to make up for it, it's useless. Instead of being hurt by others, why not hurt them from the beginning? I'd rather betray the world than let the world betray me. The ancients really didn't lie to me. Host, you're taking it seriously. If you only saw this as a game, you wouldn't think so. Tangwa opened her eyes and blinked. Since it's a game, then I don't have to be merciful. I can play it however I want. Right? System. Can I take back what I said just now? Fuck. I feel like I've been tricked by the host. Host, what are you writing? It looks like a novel. The system asked excitedly. Host, are you waiting to become a novelist after you become famous all over the world? Yes, a novel. Yes, host. Do you plan to live the rest of your life well? The system was a little happy. Did the host think it through? Have you thought of a name for the novel? Tangwa lowered her eyes and quickly wrote one word after another on the notebook. Finally, she flipped to the first page of the notebook. After thinking for a while, she wrote down a string of words. I've already thought of a title for the book. It'll be called If This Is Another Ending. The release of Tangwa's album abroad went smoother than expected, and nothing bad happened in the middle. On the day of Lung Ziyue's wedding, Lung Rue sent her a live recording and told her, Lung Ziyue is already married. Tangwa looked at the man in the video and smiled. Lung Rue, do you mind that very much? Lung Ziyue's marriage actually has nothing to do with me. To me, he's already in the past. He'll call you Mom in the future. Lung Rue was very persistent about this relationship. He stared at the woman in the video seriously. He's your son. System. Tangwa suddenly laughed. She wasn't laughing at Lung Rue, but at what kind of scene Lu Qi would be in when she saw her. She couldn't help but think about it. In the future, when Lu Qi sulked and called her mom, it would be very interesting. System. Host, you are a bad woman. What do you know? If a woman isn't bad, men won't love her. The worse she is, the more people will love her. Then, Lung Rue, tell them to wait. When I come back, I want to drink tea from my son and daughter-in-law. A smile finally appeared on Lung Rue's face. Okay, I'll get them ready. Chapter 67. But I'm not done yet. When I'm done, I'll get someone to publish it. Lung Rue's expression softened. I'll help you publish it. Okay. Lung Rue's gaze became gentler. He hadn't seen this woman for many days and missed her. Even though she had a disgusting aura on her, he still couldn't bear to kill her right now. As long as she stayed by his side obediently, he would ensure that she lived well. Lung Rue, I've picked a lot of gifts for you. I hope you like them. Then, the woman left for a while. When she appeared again, Yu was also in the video. He listened to the woman's instructions and asked Yu to take out the gifts one by one for him to see. Then, she asked him if he liked them. He still didn't touch those things. Suddenly, she accidentally touched one of the boxes. He saw a hint of regret on her face. Sister Yu, take this out. It's useless. I'll pick the same one tomorrow. Don't worry. I won't touch it even if it's for you. The woman turned around and gave him a sweet smile. This smile made him feel suffocated in his heart. Didn't she know that he was thinking about letting her live obediently? She was even so meticulous as to help him choose a gift. She was so self-aware that she wouldn't touch it. He touched the woman's thin face on the screen and wiped the corners of her curved lips. He suddenly had the urge to hug her tightly. He had lived for more than 30 years and had never wanted to hug someone so much and integrate her into his bones and blood. No, it was as if she had already integrated into her blood and was inseparable from him. Lung Rue returned to the villa and tried to get close to the places Tangwa had touched, such as her bed, her study, her equipment, her notebook, her towel, and her clothes. However, every time he reached out, his face would turn pale. He would feel nauseous whenever he thought of the past. In the end, he didn't touch anything that belonged to her. Perhaps he should have some more time. He missed the feeling of those soft little hands hugging his arm. He wanted to touch her fair face and pinch her sharp chin. He touched her curved eyebrows and smoothed her glossy black hair. However, Lung Rue did not expect that the next time they met would not be so soon. Tangwa had stayed abroad for 2 years, and during this time, he could only see her through videos. Every time, she would smile sweetly. Every month, he would receive a gift from her. Before opening the gift, he would receive a call from her. She would solemnly state that she had never touched those things and that he could open them without worry. Every time he heard these words from her, his heart felt worse and worse. Lu Qi had a very comfortable life in the past 2 years. Except for Tang was singing that was still popular in the country, Tangwa herself seemed to have disappeared. Ever since the day of her wedding, she felt as if her good luck had arrived. The most annoying person, Tangwa, had gone abroad, and she had married the only heir of the Lung family. After marrying Lung Ziyue, she found out that Lung Ziyue was the heir of the Lung family. When she saw Lung Rue, she didn't remember where she had seen him before. After all, during the concert, she had only seen him a few times in a hurry. The distance was also very far. She couldn't contact Lung Rue and Tangwa. Chapter 68. Lu Qi thought that as long as Tangwa didn't appear in the country, she would have a smooth life. No, she was the wife of the only heir of the Lung family. Even if Tangwa appeared again, she wouldn't be afraid. While she was thinking about Tangwa, Tangwa became popular abroad. It took a while for news to reach the country, but as long as the news reached the country, it would quickly spread to all places. Tangwa held 5 concerts abroad, making her name really popular all over the world. The top few songs on the foreign music charts were all her songs. Lu Qi got the news when she was preparing for her first concert. This was something she had been looking forward to for a long time. She finally had the right to hold a concert after debuting for a few years. She was very serious about this concert. Unexpectedly, at this time, the news of Tangwa's popularity spread all over the world. What was worse was that Tangwa was going back to the country. The last piece of bad news was that Tangwa was going to hold her last concert in the country and announced that she would retire from the music industry. When the news spread, it shocked the whole world. What was the most infuriating thing in the world? Undoubtedly, when you were lucky enough to achieve your goal, there was someone who stepped on your goal and jumped down without hesitation. What you valued was what others didn't care about. What you pursued all your life was actually what others threw away. Wasn't it infuriating? That was how Lu Qi felt now. What made Lu Qi feel better was that Tangwa's concert was on September 9th, which was Tangwa's birthday, and her concert was in October. There was a 1-month difference between the two, so it wouldn't affect her too much. It was a pity that she was too idealistic. When the news of Tangwa's last concert came out, many people, even Lu Qi's fans, subconsciously forgot about Lu Qi and rushed to buy tickets for Tangwa's concert. Tangwa was still on the plane, but her Weibo was already exploding. Almost all the questions the fans were concerned about were asking why Tangwa suddenly announced her retirement from the music industry. They couldn't understand why their idol would suddenly announce his withdrawal when he was so popular all over the world. Fans also formed a group to protest Tangwa's decision. Since Tangwa did not respond on Weibo, they went to Yu's Weibo. Yu did not respond either, so they went to Nebula Music's official Weibo to leave messages. Nebula Music's official Weibo account couldn't control Tangwa. They could only say that it was the artist's own decision. They also posted the contract they signed with Tangwa back then, which happened to be this year. Even if they felt it was a pity that the Nebula concert had lost a singer who had reached the pinnacle in terms of both popularity and ability. But because this person was Tangwa, they didn't even dare to say a word to persuade her to stay. The fans realized that even Nebula Music couldn't stop Tangwa from leaving the music industry. Finally, they thought of Chen Yuesheng. Shangsheng, please persuade our Guagua. She is going to abandon us. Shangsheng, you and Guagua are good friends, right? You admire her talent and focus so much. At this time, can you stand up and persuade her? Chen Yuesheng looked at the pitiful begging of his fans and smiled bitterly. Chapter 69. Naturally, Chen Yuesheng's response did not satisfy the fans. As soon as the crazy fans found out about Tangwa's flight, they headed straight to the airport to surround her. In the end, as soon as Tangwa stepped off the plane, she was surrounded by a large group of people. Guagua, why did you leave the music industry? Guagua, you owe us an explanation today. The fans were aggressive. It was as if they wouldn't let her go without an explanation. The woman removed her sunglasses, revealing a small face. Her chin was sharp and she had a sweet smile on her face. In fact, her face was so skinny that it was unrecognizable. The fans noticed that when Tangwa raised her arm, it was also very thin. Looking at this skinny woman, they couldn't bear to express the anger that they had been suppressing. Guagua, we can't bear to part with you. Tangwa smiled. Even though I'm in the music industry, I rarely appear in front of people. The only thing that keeps you company is my voice. Isn't that right? In my life, I've collaborated with others to write a few hundred songs. I've used up all my energy and I'm a little tired. From now on, I'll let them keep you company. Although I've already left the music industry, my voice will still be by your side. It won't be any different from before. Oh yes, September 9th will be my last concert in the country. On that day, there will be a total of 20 new songs. I'll let them say goodbye to you on my behalf. Guagua. Over the past few years, when I was free, I wrote a book. This book will be published very soon. When the time comes, I hope everyone will support me. Tangwa looked at the fans who were unwilling to give way. Over the past few years, when I was free, I wrote a book. When the fans heard that there would be a book, their eyes lit up. Guagua, are you planning to leave the music industry and enter the literary world? If that's the case, we'll be able to listen to Guagua's songs and read Guagua's book at the same time. Actually, if you think about it, it's not that unacceptable. I've counted that over the past few years, Guagua has sung over 500 songs. Together with the 20 songs from the concert, that's a total of 520 songs. Wow, is this Guagua's way of expressing her love for us? Otherwise, how could it be 520 songs? The fans imagined that you had taken the opportunity to take Tangwa away. When they came back to their senses, they almost dropped the phones in their hands. They had forgotten to ask what Tangwa's book was about and what it was called. However, didn't Guagua say that it would be on the market soon? As soon as she left the airport, Tangwa saw the man waiting outside. With a smile on her lips, she quickly walked towards the man who was waiting. She walked in front of him and just looked at him without doing anything else. Lung Rue, I really want to give you a hug right now. Hearing the woman's regretful voice, Long Rue's heart twitched. He opened the car door. Let's go. Tangwa got into the car. Long Rue clenched his fists and walked towards the other car. At this moment, Tangwa spoke. Lung Rue, can we sit together today? Lung Rue stopped and turned back. Through the car window, he could not see the woman's expression. I'm just saying. The woman's voice came out. Driver, drive. When the car started, Long Rue stopped opening the car door and walked to the other car. Chapter 70. When the two cars were side by side, Long Rue rolled down the window. He didn't say anything. At the same time, Tangwa seemed to know something. She rolled down the window and smiled at him. I've already prepared the concert for you. Thank you. Long Rue exhaled. Why on your birthday? This is a birthday present for myself. Tangwa smiled brightly. It's a very special day. A very beautiful day. System. Host. This day is not beautiful at all. How is this a beautiful day? This was clearly the day the original Tangwa committed suicide by jumping off a building. Oh right, Lung Rue, I've finished writing my book. I'll leave the publishing to you. Tangwa took out her phone and sent the printed version to Long Rue. After sending it, she frowned and coughed softly. Her face turned pale. Not feeling well? Long Rue's heart tightened. He immediately ordered, go to the hospital. You were disobedient overseas and didn't have regular checkups? Long Rue felt that he shouldn't have let this woman go overseas. Even if she went, he should have arranged for more people, especially the doctor who checked her body. He should have stayed by her side to take care of her. She lost weight again. I'm fine. Tangwa looked at the red blood on the tissue. She folded it and casually put it in her bag as if nothing had happened. According to the progress of this world, your lifespan won't change. The system was in a bad mood. Are you sure you want to hold the concert on September 9th? Why don't you bring it forward? No, the result won't change anyway. Tangwa will die at night. She won't die on stage. Host, do you really want to do this? I think you're very extreme. I hope you'll be in a better mood in the next world. Look at Long Rue. Other than not letting you get close to him, he's actually quite good to you. Basically, he'll agree to anything you say. The system said earnestly. Host, I think you should get along well with him in the next 2 to 3 months. Don't think about causing trouble. I'm not causing trouble. I've been focusing on music these few years. This is what I want to do. It's also Tangwa's dream. You seem to have some misunderstandings about me. I've written all the insights I've gained from those worlds before. System. Why does he feel that things aren't that simple? Lu Qi will have a concert in October. Host, your wish should have been fulfilled. Originally, Lu Qi's concert would have been held in the 2nd year of her debut. Because of your appearance, she only had a concert 7 years after her debut. Tangwa raised her eyebrows. Oh, October? What a good day. System. Motherfucker, it must be an illusion. I keep feeling that the host's words have a hidden meaning. When they arrived at the hospital, Long Rui asked Tangwa to do a comprehensive examination. Looking at the inspection report, Long Rui frowned. There's no problem. Is the inspection complete? Mr. Long, we have thoroughly examined Miss Tang. Apart from being anemic and working hard over the years, there is nothing wrong with her body. Long Rui was still worried and went to another hospital. After getting the same result, he was finally relieved. Long Rui, you moved? This is not the way back to the villa. A rare smile appeared on Long Rui's face. We're not going back to the villa. I'm taking you somewhere. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.